Hey guys, this is Ryan Goodman with Connect Booster, and today I have Dan Kolansky, and I didn't murder your last name there, did I, Dan?
No. It's good.
All right, good. Dan's with Virtual Administrator, and Virtual Administrator has actually been a longtime client of ours here at Connect Booster, and what they do is just really, really darn cool, and that's why we have the webinar today. You know, we are all about helping businesses automate the financial portion of their business. Connect Booster is all about helping people automate their process of getting paid. Well, you know, automation doesn't stop there. I mean, our businesses thrive on automation to help us accomplish the redundant tasks that we get bogged down with every day. And to grow our business, automation is really important in all areas of business. And Virtual Administrator, well, I got to tell you guys, these guys are experts in helping you streamline your day-to-day processes inside of your MSP, from suggesting PSA all the way through to the tools that integrate with your PSA to help you guys provide the best service to your customers. And you know, that's really the value add here. We just wanted to provide some really, really awesome content for our client base and people that know about us, and expose you guys to Virtual Administrator, because I just think there's a ton of value here. As I've learned more about them over the last couple of years, I'm like, oh my gosh, business partners that I have that have an MSP, I said, you guys need to be on board with these guys and learn more about what they do, because it's almost like a plug and play franchise. You know, where there's nothing wrong with trying to reinvent the wheel, but gosh dang it, it takes a lot of time and a lot of money. And these guys have figured it out, and they've been in the managed services game for a long time. They have some great tools, and they're expert at these tools. And at that point, Dan, I hope I did you justice in describing your company, you know, from the outside in, and want to present you to the group. And I'm just as excited as everyone else to really hear right from the horse's mouth what you guys provide to managed services companies, and also to companies that are looking to get in that game. You know, your MSP in a box is one of the taglines, and the MSP on-ramp are some of the taglines that you have, and we just want to learn more about what you do and the value you provide to IT companies.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Ryan. Yeah, I think you did a good job describing us there, actually. So we can end the webinar here, and thank you for having me on the call.
He's magic.
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
He's magic.
Actually, you used a key word there, franchise. Robin Robbins once described us as the non-franchise franchise. That's exactly what we do. And so we're very much trying to be plug and play. You can take us, drop us into your business. It's really cool. So, you know, I have a quick presentation that I'm going to run you guys through. We can, once we get through that, you know, we can do any questions. If you guys have questions during it, you can just type them in. You know, if it looks like a really important one, then I'll, you know, try and stop and answer it there. Otherwise, we'll just do them at the end of the webinar. And that's about it. So, you know, my name is Dan Kolansky. I am actually a former MSP owner, and I'm working full time now with Virtual Administrator. Chris Amori, who owns Virtual Administrator, is the big man in charge there, kind of hired me right out of my company, sort of to spread the gospel, as it were, because I was actually a customer of Virtual Administrator. I had taken their services and dropped them into my business, and it worked wonders for me. And I just liked the guys at VA and really had a good time working with them, so it was an easy decision, especially since I had my daughter on the way when they asked me. So now I'm happily working there, and she's 3 now.
Time flies.
Totally. So what is Virtual Administrator? The best way I can sum it up is that we're kind of that secret engine, or the quote-unquote dirty little secret, as I have on the slide here, that MSPs take to drop into their business, and it powers your company. We bring the software, we bring the tech knowledge, we bring the resources for you to do your work without having to worry about all that back-end stuff, like keeping servers online, making sure that software is up to date, all those kind of things that just, they don't make you any money directly. So we do that. That way you can be out in the field doing the actual work and getting the stuff done, or managing your people so they can do it for you. We also focus really hard on keeping your costs down and try to focus on keeping your company in the black. All of our programs, literally you can start at $5 a month and move up from there. So that way, your expenses are low until you're making money, and it's a pay-as-you-grow type system. And
cool.
That's actually a bit of a lie, because we actually have free trials on most of our offerings. So it's actually possible to start by paying nothing and make 100% profit in month one, which is something that I often recommend people do. So it's pretty cool. Get a way to get started and get your business making some money without necessarily investing anything up front, which is, a lot of people can't say that these days. So let's just talk for a second about why we're here. Virtual Administrator, the reason that we exist, basically before I get into all the details, the reason we exist, we're actually an offshoot of an MSP, and it's called Network Depot, which does work strictly in the Washington, D.C. area. But before 2007, when Virtual Administrator was launched, we would go to these conferences like ASCII, SMB Nation, CompTIA, and we would be telling people about all this technology that we were using. And at the time, it really wasn't that well known. Now a lot of these MSP tools are out there. People have heard of them. They've used them. But back then, it was like brand new. And, we were talking about things like remote antivirus, backup management, remote controlling machines, stuff like that. And over time, what would happen is people would start asking us. They would say, hey, this software looks really time-consuming and costly to set up for ourselves. We just want to see how it works. Can we just, stick a couple of agents on your system and see, how that works? And so we figured out a way to provision their accounts so they couldn't mess with any of our computers or any of anyone else's computers, and we would put them on our server and they could play around and check it out. Well, one day we woke up, we realized that we had 1,000 agents on our server that weren't ours, that we were paying for. It had kind of grown on its own because people were eager for this, but they just didn't want to put down. At the time, it was like $50,000 to get started. You had to pay a lot of money to play. And so, we sat down. This in particular was Kaseya, which is is still one of our flagship products. So we sat down, had a conversation with Kaseya, and said, "This is what's happening. You guys need to work with us on this." And so Kaseya has been a huge backer of Virtual Administrator for a long time. So we made it official. We separated it out. We created Virtual Administrator, separated the team from the Network Depot team so that they were kind of, it's a great relationship because I get to basically steal all of the best practices out of Network Depot and then offer them to all of you guys, which is it's not good if you're in the DC area because it won't be good for us, but if you're not, then it's great. So it works out well for everyone. It's definitely a win-win scenario. And then just a quick plug for Connect Booster, our interaction with them. As our company grew, we kind of became a victim of our own success. We have literally hundreds of partners working with us, and it's growing all the time. And they work with us on a month-to-month basis. And so when it comes time to do billing, what would happen is what I now lovingly refer to as billing week. And everyone has billing day. It's like, all right, we get to send out the bills and get income and stuff like that. We would have billing week, and it would literally be days of just sitting there and punching in credit card numbers, which was ridiculous. So we ended up reaching out to Connect Booster about 1.5 years ago, and they've completely revamped how we do our process, which is really cool. And it's turned into more of a button push than a billing week, which is really quite amazing. And so now we just make sure our accounts are up to date, and it works great. So that's my quick plug. So
thanks.
Yep, no problem. So with that being said, let's jump into what we do. As we've grown, we've gathered together kind of our dream team of vendors that we work with, and what we do is we take a vendor and we basically make it easy to get into working with that company. It started with Kaseya, and it's moved on from there. So we focus on a bunch of key areas. Kaseya covers the RMM section. We also have a help desk and knock solution now, so people can hire our team to provide help desk to your customers, which is awesome. It's a great way to, I'll talk about it a little bit more later, to protect what I call your dragon slayers, which are your IT people working for your company. They keep them from that death by 1,000 tickets syndrome. We also have a Sonic Wall program for people that are interested in getting started with Sonic Walls. Oftentimes the price to get started with Sonic Wall is prohibitive, especially in the managed services world. So I'll talk about that a little bit more shortly. We also have an email utility system through SpamSoap. They have incredible email backup, spam protection, and one of their newest features, which is really quite cool, is encryption. They allow you to auto-encrypt emails, and I'll talk about that a little bit more too. We also have a online backup solution through Intronis, which Intronis by default usually requires you to have hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes to get started. We let you start with 1 gigabyte and move up from there. So it starts at the cost of lunch, and you can test it out with a client, get comfortable with it, get used to it, train your staff on how to use it, and then move on from there. And also, finally, we have a managed print solution, which is pretty cool too. So what's the key point here? As Ryan said earlier, we want to be the on-ramp. We want to make it super easy for you to launch a program in your company or in basically any of the previously mentioned areas of managed services. And I'm kind of a story of how that happened. I mentioned briefly I was one of the customers who I actually signed up with Network Depot before they had branded and partitioned off as virtual administrator. I had actually called Kaseya, and I was like, hey, I've got 15, 20 machines that I'd like to sign up. And they said, well, you're going to need to buy like 200 licenses if you want to work with us. Yeah. And so they had actually introduced me to Chris at Network Depot, and they set me up, got me started. A few months later, Virtual Administrator was born, and I quickly built up a bunch of agents, and my business became very competitive over the rest of the IT companies in the area. It was really quite cool because most of the other companies had no way to claim that they were taking care of their customers' computers other than the customer would call them. And that's still the way a lot of IT companies are working these days. You wait for your customer to call you. You do very little proactively, and there's no way for you to monitor machines and follow up on them. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we move on. And really, none of it would have been possible though without Virtual Administrator. They could back up my claims and make sure that I could actually deliver on what I was talking about. I like to talk big, and they let me act big too, which was good.